Let's talk about what your job isn't when you are a relational leader or facilitator. Because I think this is just as important as identifying what it is that you might be doing with people. So I've got some notes. Here are a few ideas. I don't think it's your job to rescue people from their discomfort. I think learning happens on people's edge, and the edge is stuff that's unfamiliar, often feels uncomfortable. So I don't think your job is to fix or to soothe prematurely. I think it's be there to. I think your job is to be there to witness, to help hold the process. Definitely not to rescue. I also don't think your job is to heal them. Maybe I can take a little more ownership of that. I don't think it's my job to heal people as a facilitator or as a leader. I can create the conditions in which uh, their nervous systems, their bodies can engage in their own healing work because bodies are incredible. Like, you have to cut yourself to realize how intelligent your body is at healing itself. So I can create and support the conditions for that, but it's not my job to do that. Um, and I often am not the medicine. I think the relationships that people experience in spaces, including with me, um, that's the magic. But that's not all on me. It's also not your job to control the outcome. A leadership skill is having a clear destination in mind, to have a clear intention and have a sense of direction. But that's different from control. I don't think, as a relational leader or facilitator, my job is to hold things so tightly that there is only one outcome possible. Um, I often like to think about sessions that I run as inquiries. I'm kind of posing a question, and the answer that people get, the experience that they have, is not within my control. There's things that I can do that shape that, obviously. And I say it is a really important leadership uh, skill to have a sense of direction. Otherwise, you're just a bunch of people out for a walk going around in circles, which could be what you want to do. I'm not gonna, but knowing that's what you want to do is a skill in itself, okay? Um, but I want to offer that in this kind of form of relational leadership and facilitation. What gets much more fun and interesting is using presence as a means to co-create, yeah, rather than orchestrate. It's not your job to be perfect. Definitely not your job to be perfect. Your humanity is a gift. Relational leadership is not about being flawless. It's not all about always knowing what to do and not being impacted by what's happening in the room. To be honest, I had somebody leave my program this week for the first time. Running for 3 years. First time somebody's left. And it hurt. And I am so proud of me and the group that I've created that I got to be there in my hurt and upset, as well as holding space for the rest of the group to share their impact. So for me, relational leadership is about honesty, repair, responsiveness. If I make mistakes, fine. It happens. What I can do is role modeling, taking responsibility. I can, uh, yeah, role model what it's like to be a messy, flawed human being and still choose to show up authentically. Does not require perfection. You also don't have to have all the answers. I don't know anybody who does. I don't think you're the oracle. I think you're holding a space where collective wisdom can emerge. It's one of my favorite things about leading groups is it really allows me to like get out of this mode where I have to have it all figured out. Because so often it's a reflection from somebody else in the group or an insight. So for example, like I often talk about like, so this is a cheesy, authentic relating gesture. It means I resonate with you, I get you. And somebody in my group yesterday was like, doing a practice lead, and he was like, you know, piano things. Imagine you're playing the piano. What is it like for you when you know this song? I was like, oh my God, that's genius. This is why we call the piano fingers. Because like, oh yeah, my fingers know this song. I love that I don't have to come up with all of this. There's so much wisdom in the group, so much capacity to support each other. My job is to help kind of shepherd that a little bit, give it some structure, give it some guidance from time to time. It's not to know all the answers. Um, you do not have to protect the group from themselves. Actually, this is quite infantilizing. Different if you work with children, different kind of roles of duty of care, but I work with adults, and I like to assume that I I work with robust, resilient people. If they have made it this far in life, they've been doing okay without me. My impulse to protect, to caretake, um, is based in my fear of rupture, of chaos, of conflict. But when I do that, I infantilize people. I undermine their resilience and agency. And ultimately, that's what I want for them. I want them to empower themselves to go and do this stuff in the world. And so if I'm showing up with the energy of protecting them, I'm there's like incongruence there. I'm kind of acting against my own intentions. Something feels off. And pause for breath. This is quite a lot. I had a lot of ideas around this. um, you do not have to make everyone comfortable. I think that you have a responsibility to um, hold an experience, to support an experience that is safe enough for learning. But I don't think it means everybody has to be comfortable. In fact, growth is inherently uncomfortable. Again, being on the edge, doing something new, often deeply uncomfortable. And so, yeah, if you're aiming for people to be comfortable all the time, I can reinforce avoidance, it can reinforce silence, or it can reinforce the status quo dynamics. So if you want people to change, sometimes discomfort is going to show up. You also do not have to push people to grow or learn. Yeah. I believe our souls have an innate impulse to grow, to expand, to evolve. I don't think we can help it. Don't think it's your job to push that at a timetable that you deem is appropriate. I don't know. I don't know where their person's come from or what. And even if I do, I'm not them. That's not my responsibility to say what their pace of learning and growth is. People aren't projects. My job is to support them, to scaffold them where they want it, where they need it. And so for me, I don't aim for growth. I trust that it will happen, that it's an emergent property. It's definitely not a KPI that I have to optimize for. You do not have to hold it all alone. I am a recovering lone wolf. Ever since the age of about two, my one of my life mantras has been, "Look, Daddy, I did it all by myself." And yet I'm really coming to appreciate and enjoy the gift of co-facilitating, working alongside other brilliant facilitators, and working in collaboration with the group. It's it's beautiful. It's like I get to be in my zone of genius and do the things I'm really good at, and that somehow that's like expounded, it's made exponential by being with other people. So trust the group. You know, I don't have to hold this alone. In fact, I can't hold this alone. Sometimes I think like holding a group space is, it's like there's a rope going around the group. It might be my job to like lift it up initially, but it needs everybody to kind of like help me lift it, to lift it up, and for there to be enough tension that it holds everybody. So it's my job to initiate that, but it's not my job to do it alone. And in fact, going back to one of my previous points, the sense of sort of empowerment and having people step back into their resilience and agency, actually what my job is long term is to help a group learn to do that for themselves, for each other. Yeah, and never want people to become dependent on me as a facilitator. I want them to go and do their thing in the world. Couple more. Leading doesn't mean that you have to be at the front all of the time. Something I always like rallied against when I was on officer training in the military. I had a flight commander who was a big helicopter pilot and seen, combat service. And his thing was that you've got to be present, you've got to be at the front. I don't think that's true. I think sometimes leadership means stepping to the side and allowing somebody else to shine. It means prioritizing other people's voices and stories over mine. Sometimes it means holding silence and letting something be for a moment. So sometimes leadership is less about what I do and more about what I choose not to do in those moments. How do I make space for other people? It is also not your job, and nor is it the group's job to like you. Facilitation, that stepping into a position of power as a leader or as a facilitator is not an opportunity to get your approval needs met. It can do that from time to time, and don't get me wrong, there's like times I come out of sessions and I'm like, oh, nobody liked me, nobody said I did a good job. And I'm like with that part of me that craves that wants that external validation. And it's lovely when people give it to me. And I need to make sure that I'm getting those needs met outside of my sessions. Because otherwise I'm in like some nasty like power dynamic. I start to like manipulate the group to get my needs met rather than focusing on theirs. Um, and and to be authentic, not everybody likes me. I've come to terms with that in my 40s. Not for everybody, not everybody's cup of tea, and that is totally okay. I choose to prioritize being authentic, being respectful, being anchored in myself. And yeah, not everybody's going to like that, and that's okay. Like I can get my kicks of being liked and loved and adored elsewhere in my life. That's not the job of a group to help me do that. And so, if I had to sum all of that up, my offer that you are not the most important person in the room. It can feel like you are because often you're at the front. Maybe you have a microphone with your name on the poster. You're the one with the title and the salary bump, and you're the one in charge, and the buck stops with you, and all of the rest of it. But it doesn't mean you're the most important person. I think your job is to be of service to all these other important people. That doesn't mean you don't deserve support and uh, fellowship and holding. In fact, that's incredibly important. Like, you need to get that for yourself in other places. You deserve that too. But when you step into leadership, that's that's not what that's not what that is there for. There's something deeply humbling about stepping this into this form of leadership to recognize I am not the most important person. My needs are not the most important needs here. How can I show up and be of service? So it's a long one. I hope that was useful. Maybe you noticed the sense of kind of recognition and like, oh yeah, sometimes I do that. And that's okay. As I said somewhere in that list, this is not about being perfect. So if sometimes you do this, great. Congratulations on noticing. And how might you start to make 1% shifts to do that a little less? Yeah, to step more into this form of relational leadership uh, and facilitation. So I'd love to hear how this lands for you. Was there anything that I missed? Is there anything that you're like, oh no, like I don't think this is the job of a leader or a facilitator? Are there any that you disagree with? Yeah, I'd really love to hear your opinions and your questions. So comments below, the usual blah. And yeah, hopefully I will see you next time.